Good Friday morning. This is the temptation account, okay? Was it chapter 3 in Genesis, okay? Now the serpent was the most cunning of all the animals that the Lord God had made. The serpent asked the woman, watch how he asks her because she's free. See, she's a symbol of freedom. He's going to appeal to her freedom. Poor Adam, he's sitting there, well, I don't know. He's silent. He doesn't know what he's doing. Okay, he's just a law keeper. I mean that. He has no imagination at all. Adam is as dull can be. He's just a lawyer. All due respect to lawyers. Okay. The serpent asked the woman, did God really tell you not to eat from any of the trees in the garden? The woman answered the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden. It is only about the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden that God said, you shall not eat it or even touch it, lest you die. But the serpent said to the woman, you're not going to die. No, God knows well that the moment you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like gods who know what is good and what is evil. Boy, he wasn't lying there. He was telling the truth to her. It's interesting. The truth in a sense of an attraction. He didn't lie to her. You are definitely going to know that, but do you really want to? You see, you're going to know it existentially. See? You're going to know it now, really. You see, watch. Huh? The woman saw that the tree was good for food. Now that's desire. See? Pleasing to the eye, desirable for gaining wisdom. You're never going to be wise if you stay home and hide in your bedroom. Wisdom is learned through the adventure of life. It's not bookish, it's life. He's right what he's telling her. And she's right in that experience. To eat of that tree is to enter into the adventure of life. But it can entail as well what God said, you will know good and evil now. But you're going to know it existentially because you're part of it. See? And there is a wisdom in that, but there's a cost. Okay, watch what goes on. The woman saw that she has desire, so she took some of the fruit and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. I love the story of Adam. He's standing like a chidrul. That's an Italian expression for a jerk. My Uncle Harry used to, oh, that guy's a chidrul. I don't know what there probably is a real word for that in Italian, but it was so whatever in the neighborhood, okay? It's a jerk. He's content to be a jerk. He's standing there like a jerk, okay? It's a chidrul, okay? Whatever that means, okay? Maybe somebody out there knows what it means, okay? So he stands there, and then, whoa, their eyes of both them were opened, and they realized that they were naked. Now they both have desire. And so they sewed fig leaves together, made loincloths. Now they had desire. But you see, now you have passionate desire that goes beyond reason. You're hearing the real story of humanity. Desire, see, unbridled desire. Hence, you have to restrain that desire, the loincloth, the fig leaves. If not, it will destroy you. Desire is blind. It's blind. You need the tension of the law. You need Adam now, because freedom without restraint is chaotic, and it leads to self-destruction. You see. You can't have freedom without law. You want freedom? You want to see what that plays out? Watch anarchy. Watch what happens when all law fails in a society. Better buy yourself a gun. Everybody's enemy to everyone else. That was the philosophy of Thomas Hobbes in the 17th century, or 18th century. What happens? You have to have the rule of law. You have to have Adam, or the wild and beautiful freedom of Eve becomes chaos, and chaos leads to self-destruction. You have to have the rule of law. That's why in society, in civil society, the worst thing is civil unrest. Seriously. That's why you crush it if you have to, because you cannot live civilized life without law, without order. You have anarchy. God save you from anarchy. You see? The monsters of history have arisen out of anarchy. The mess, you see? That's why Adam is important. You can't just have Eve. Desire, love, power, the power of love, the energy of love. You've got to have also discipline and reason. Without those constraints, it's self-destructive. That is simply the truth. It's self-destructive. You see? So they saw that they were naked, and they made loincloths for themselves, and added their symbols of restraint. That we have to control our passions, our desires. See? Any society, rampant desire, lust, whatever you want to call it, for wealth, whatever it may be, power, especially for power, you see where it leads. Look at Hitler. His lust for power led to 80 million dead, including a gun in his own mouth. Okay? What does he do? He dies in a bunker, worthless coward. Okay? After he led such horror to the rest of the world. A monster. He was a monster. See? He desired power without restraint, without control. He became the power. He's demonic. He's a demonic figure. Stalin was another one. Absolute demonic figures in history. Okay? They were not capable. They were not willing to be agents of love and communion, but only the lust for power and its irrationality. In the end, they destroyed themselves. They destroyed a lot of other people with them. It was very important for Adam to be present with Eve, and they both sewed together the loincloth. That loincloth is a symbol of constraint and restraint. You see? It's necessary in human life. Robust freedom occurs in a civilized society, a society of law and order, not in an anarchy. When I think of the riots in the 60s, that when you were afraid to get out on the street, I told that story because it was right in New Haven in 67 or 68. It was 67, I think it was. It was really bad. It was really bad in New Haven. I had just left there. I was home for a week with my family, and I was stationed in New York on Long Island. And I remember my friend Terry said to me, "Ted, you better listen to the newspaper. They're rioting in New Haven and around Congress Avenue, right near your house." I called home, and my father and mother were still in the house. They refused to leave. And they were that and the Balsanos across the street were, I think, the only people didn't leave. My father refused to leave the house. That's the truth. It was scary. But what did my father do? He put a shotgun under each window. He was going to defend his home. That's anarchy. The police couldn't control what was going on. That's anarchy. It's frightening. So they put a gun under each window. That's the truth. Hey? You need Adam because Eve left to herself. That is, the principle of freedom left to itself requires law-likeness that you see in the Adamic figure, reason and law. Or you'll have not freedom, you'll have anarchy. Eve needs Adam, but Adam desperately needs Eve. Without Eve, you have the stultification of law. You have the lack of freedom, imagination, art, beauty, imagination, adventure, science. You won't even have science. The imagination that comes with science. Imagination, dreaming of what could be. Intuition. That's Eve. Adam represents the organization of the mind and law. You gotta have it. But without the energy of Eve, there would be no tomorrows. There would only be yesterdays. The assurance of what was. We'd be stagnant. We would never have evolved. Evolution is a feminine principle. Thank God for the feminine principle. It is the imagination of the earth gone wild. But we need the order of science, the order of the mind, and of the law to keep it from becoming anarchy. It's neat, isn't it? Adam and Eve, reason and wild-ass freedom. And that's what gives you the universe, the evolving universe. The wilderness is feminine, not masculine. See? Farming is masculine with a touch of the feminine. The wilderness is the feminine with a touch of the masculine. It is orderly, but it's a wild order. Isn't that neat? I think of that a lot. You think of the wilderness as masculine, it is like hell. It's feminine because it's the spontaneity of life in a continuum of life and death. It's a wild freedom. But you better know what you're doing. Because in the wilderness, they say if you abuse the wilderness, she will not forgive you. If you don't respect the wilderness, she will not forgive you. You better have a good understanding and knowledge, thank you, Adam, of the wildness of Eve, or Eve will not forgive you.